The Jungle Book, a heartwarming tale of bravery, friendship, and adventure. Deep in the jungle, Bagheera the panther was out hunting. Suddenly, he heard a strange crying sound coming from the river. He followed the sound and discovered a basket with a tiny baby boy inside. "Why, it's a man cub," he said. "This little chap needs food and a mother's care. Perhaps Mother Wolf will look after him." Mother Wolf agreed to help. They named the man cub Mowgli, and he grew up safe and happy in the jungle. But everything changed when Mowgli was 10 years old. Shere Khan, the man-eating tiger, heard about the man cub and came searching for him. The wolves agreed that Bagheera should take the boy back to the man village where he would be safe. So the next morning Bagheera and Mowgli set off on their long journey. Mowgli was angry and upset. He didn't want to leave his home in the jungle. When darkness fell, Bagheera and Mowgli climbed a tree and settled down to sleep on a branch. Nearby, hiding under some leaves, was Kaa, the python. As soon as Bagheera was asleep, Kaa slithered towards the man cub. His shining eyes seemed to have a magic power, and Mowgli quickly began to sink into a deep trance. Slowly, Kaa started to wind himself round the boy, ready to swallow him up. Suddenly Bagheera woke up and sprang at Kaa. He struck the snake with his paw and sent him slithering away into the jungle. Finally safe, the panther and the man cub went to sleep. The next morning Bagheera told Mowgli they had to continue their journey to the man village. But Mowgli refused to go. He grabbed hold of a tree trunk and held on tightly. Bagheera was very cross and ran off, leaving the man cub all alone. It wasn't long before Mowgli met a friendly bear called Baloo. He told Baloo how much he wanted to stay in the jungle. "No problem," Baloo said. "I'll look after you." Baloo enjoyed teaching his new friend all about the bare necessities of life. Soon Mowgli could fight like a bear, growl like a bear, and even scratch like a bear. One day, as the pair were resting, some monkeys suddenly appeared and grabbed Mowgli and whisked him up into the air. Baloo woke up with a jump, but it was too late. The monkeys were already carrying Mowgli to the ruined temple where they lived. Luckily, Bagheera heard Mowgli's cries and rushed to the river to help. He found Baloo, who explained what had happened. "We need a rescue plan," Bagheera said. At the ruined temple, Louie, King of Apes, was sitting on his throne waiting for the man cub to arrive. "So you're here at last," Louie cried as Mowgli was dropped beside him. Louie offered to help Mowgli stay in the jungle. In return, he wanted to learn the secret of man's red fire. But before Mowgli could explain that he didn't know the secret, Louie declared that they would have a great feast in honor of their guest. Baloo and Bagheera reached the temple just in time to see Louie leap from his throne and start to sing and dance in celebration of Man Cub's arrival. As Mowgli's feet began to tap to the music, he forgot his troubles and joined in the fun. "Baloo," whispered Bagheera, "you distract the monkeys while I rescue Mowgli." Baloo had an idea. He dressed in some coconut shells and leaves to make himself look like a lady ape. Then he waved at Louie. The king thought the lady ape was beautiful and rushed over to ask her to dance. He had no idea that it was really Baloo in disguise. Bagheera tried to grab Mowgli, but each time, right before he could, one of the monkeys would whirl the boy away from him. By the time Baloo and Bagheera were finally able to get Mowgli from King Louie and the monkeys, the ancient ruins had crumbled entirely round the king and his monkey court. The man cub must go to the village, said Bagheera. It's not safe for him to stay in the jungle. Baloo, remembering Shere Khan, had to admit that Bagheera was right. So the next morning Baloo led Mowgli off towards the man village. When the man cub found out where they were heading, he was very angry. You don't want me to stay, you're just like Bagheera, he shouted. But before Baloo could explain, Mowgli ran off into the jungle. Mowgli soon arrived in an area of the jungle he didn't know, and was joined by 4 vultures. The vultures could see Mowgli was upset and sang a friendship song to cheer him up. It wasn't long before Shere Khan overheard the singing. Emerging from the shadows, the tiger gave a loud roar, taking the man cub by surprise. Mowgli refused to run from the tiger. Shere Khan counted to 10 and then leapt at Mowgli, roaring with his claws out and mouth wide open. Baloo arrived in nick of time and pulled Shere Khan's tail so hard that the tiger fell short of man cub. Shere Khan roared with his rage as he dragged Baloo behind him, but the brave bear was determined not to let go. Eventually, the furious tiger managed to flip Baloo over his head. The bear hit the ground with a crash. Ooh. The vultures, Mowgli and Baloo all fought against Shere Khan. The tiger ran off when a lightning storm caused a tree to burst into flames and Mowgli tied a burning branch to his tail. Baloo lay injured and still on the ground. Finally, he opened his eyes and lifted his head. Overjoyed, Mowgli ran and sprang into his friend's arms. With Shere Khan defeated, Baloo, Bagheera, and Mowgli set off into the jungle once again, and at long last they reached the man village. Mowgli climbed a tree to get a good look at a girl he heard singing down by a watering hole. He couldn't take his eyes off her, to Bagheera's great delight. When the girl saw Mowgli, she smiled shyly at him. The girl dropped her jug and it rolled to where Mowgli stood. He picked up the jug and followed the girl to the man village. He turned round to give Baloo and Bagheera a big goofy grin. Mowgli's where he belongs now, said Bagheera. I think you're right, said Baloo. And he and Bagheera danced happily back into the jungle. Finish.